Doomsday Clock number 6. Geoff Johns writing, Gary Frank on art, and he promised at Comic Con we were getting the origin of Mime and Marionette in issue 6. And I was actually sure at the time when he said that. I was like, oh, does that mean the entire issue's focusing on that? Or does it just mean it's part of that issue? And it does kind of all focus on that, although it does have present day stuff as well. It's kind of like we're focusing on them, and it's flashing back to their origin as we're going through, and it's them interacting with the Joker, and how delightful that entire situation becomes. I suppose first things first, did we like the issue?
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh no, Matt's feeling down. Oh,
No.
oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, it's still competently written, and the art is fantastic. But this wasn't the story I was wanting. Like, Mime and Marionette are cool, I guess, but like I don't.
Well, what he's saying is we got that Superman tease at the end of issue 1 and then nothing since, and he's waiting for it.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I know we were getting the JSA stuff later because of the cover with the lantern, and but like the Mime and Marionette stuff is the stuff I'm enjoying the least. Because, like, yeah, it's fine, but I don't know how it's really fitting in to the overall story.
I enjoyed this a lot more than I did the Rorschach origin issue.
I agree with that.
See, I like that a lot.
I like
I
this.
like that one more. That was with the moth guy, right?
Yeah.
To the flame.
Yeah, but this just feels
like
more
that one
relevant
more.
because even though there are like heavy flashbacks to the origin, there's still a lot of present day stuff with Joker and all the other villains, and a bit more about the Superman theory. I feel like it's actually advancing.
Yeah, and I will say this. Joker being almost shocked that he's met someone who's just as crazy as he is kind of a delightful revelation to watch. Where he's doing his Joker thing. He's doing his Joker thing, and he's threatening them. And he's like, "Oh, you're getting a tattoo next." And then they just turn around and kill half his henchmen in a very violent scene, might I add. We've got heads being ripped off, we got eyes being poked out. Not to mention the flashback where she like strangles the cop with the wire, and she's literally just dangling her entire like kid body off the back of the guy's neck. Like it's all super dark in places, and I think it's kind of fascinating seeing like Joker be like, "Man, okay, I kind of like you guys. All right, okay."
Yeah, I don't like John's Joker that much, which now worries me for the 3 Jokers. So that's always a fun feeling.
Well, I mean, you're the biggest Johns fan here, probably, and we like Johns a lot.
This is why I'm having such problems with this one, because I didn't love this issue, and I've loved every other 1 through 5. This one was just okay.
I agree with the Joker thing. I said this when we got him. Was it last issue we showed up at the end, or was it the one before?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we caught
It was last. It was last issue.
And I mentioned this is not my favorite take on the Joker. This one that we
that's
got.
fair, yeah.
And I don't think he's poorly written. It's just it's not the Joker I like to read.
No, and that's it. He's kind of all over the place, because I like when someone writes Joker with a voice in mind. Sometimes it's the Heath Ledger kind of gravelly, creepy Joker, and other times it's the Hamill big over the top. And I feel like Johns tries to do both, and it's not. At least for me, he doesn't pull off either particularly well.
I think for me, this is less about like his Joker is just a specific type of Joker. So like kind of Connor said, it's more just this doesn't feel like alien to the Joker. To me, it feels like no, this is like one of the classic interpretations of the Joker, and you may not like that version of the Joker. You may prefer the other types.
Well, that's what it is. That's why I said it's competently written. It's not bad. Because
I wouldn't
like it.
I wouldn't say this one's my favorite either, but I still think it's a solid enough Joker. There's still like elements in there for me to like, and there's still like moments of that dark glee that I get from him that I get into.
I will agree that he's a bit inconsistent in which Joker it is. There are points where he's like trying to be in charge and show off that he's got Batman, and then when comedian shows up, he's kind of just grinning, and it's like, oh look, I see smoke, and it's kind of all over the place.
I think that plays to the erratic nature of the Joker, though, right?
Oh, that sounds rationalizing to me.
Yeah, I mean, all the best Joker stories pick a type of Joker and go with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this, because I feel like the Joker to me does change at the drop of a hat. That's part of what makes the Joker interesting, is the extreme like shifts in mood just based on something you can't predict as someone else in the room. I don't know, that never stuck out to me as a shift. To me, that just felt like Joker.
Fair enough.
Because I feel like, you know, part of that danger, you don't know if he's going to, like, kill you in 2 seconds or embrace you. Like, when you say something and there's that pause before he reacts to it, is he going to be like what you just said and laugh at it? And sometimes he will act like he hates it and then just, oh, I'm just kidding, and then he'll do, you know, his thing, because he's the Joker. I did enjoy his basically just making fun of the League of Supervillains, or whatever they're calling them this week.
Yeah.
I like that meta narrative. Also, the new supervillain dude who gets. Well, I'm sure because John's put him in there, he's not completely new. But the one Typhoon, whoever,
Typhoon.
like,
No, he's
death
a
was.
Firestorm guy.
Yeah, his death was
Brutal.
Pretty brutal as well. Yeah, there's a lot of brutal death in this issue.
That's the other thing too with Johns. Johns doesn't necessarily write like this, and I feel like he's really going for the Watchmen vibe. Like, I don't want to say he's trying too hard, but it's really with the language and like the silhouette sex scene and the violence is just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Johns to me, and maybe that's what he's going for. But I don't know. I'm very conflicted about this issue.
I think looking at it as a Watchmen sequel more so than anything else, that works for me.
Oh yeah, it's. But again, I came in looking for what it means for the DC universe, not necessarily for more Watchmen. You know.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there, and that's why I'm. You know, this is what, halfway through now.
Yeah.
So if this is the only time that I feel like this is at the halfway point, then cool, because we all know that I'm coming back for that Green Lantern on the cover in 7. It's not like this was a deal breaker. So, you know, if I have to deal with what I feel is a valley and the rest of them peaks, then, you know, so be it. So, but there's still stuff. I like the Mr. Freeze stuff here.
Oh yeah, with the henchmen,
You know,
and
like,
yeah.
with the henchmen, they're all wearing parkas, and they're kind of like, well, hey, if we go Joker, we don't got to wear these anymore. You know, they're kind of that vibe. And then all of the villains just kind of standing around, I thought was great. And you have Riddler and his Frank Gorshin, you know,
I also
costume.
Yeah, I thought that was a little jarring.
Yeah. So,
I actually,
Two-Face.
I really liked Riddler when Joker like announces his entrance. He's like, "No, this is my time. Get him out of here."
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
that
like
plays
that.
in well with the jokes and riddles.
Yeah,
You know,
the idea to have a
they
history.
still
Yeah,
have this. Yeah, they have this kind of animosity between them still. And then I just like the rogues just showing up and acting as a unit. Like, all right, well, we're used to working as a team, you know. So like, if you guys want to go to Kondak with us, then
which,
come on.
by the way, this scene here, I feel like obviously there's a reference to Sanctuary, which is cool, and like, okay,
Yeah.
right, so we're referencing Sanctuary, and someone's death there, probably one of the victims in that book, because we know it starts with a murder. But I felt like there was a lot of other dialogue in this scene that was hinting at stories that maybe are coming up before we get to like the end of Doomsday Clock and the other books. Like something about Wonder Woman being like kidnapped by Amazons, and something about what was one of the other things. But there was a few things where I was like, oh, the guy from the Court of Owls is like, oh yeah, I'm back and I'm finally in power again. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a story. Yeah, sounds like a story we're going to get.
Where's it at?
Yeah, there it is. I think that one's interesting because that could be not necessarily a story we're going to get before it catches up, but afterwards.
Yeah,
More
possibly.
like, I finally returned to lead them, so that'll be. Oh, yeah, we're going to get that next almost.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that Hector Hammond's there, right, after what's going on in Green Lantern Corps. Well, Howlin' Pals.
Yeah,
you know what I
he's
mean?
trying to be better.
Yeah, and then you have Tattooed Man, who that's a villain I haven't thought about in I can't tell you how long. So it's cool that we got all of these like low key villains. It would make sense that some of these guys would come together for protection, you know. And they're hinting at what's going on with Kondak. I want more of that too.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, we're definitely building to that. Also, the fact that Riddler gets kneecapped as well. Like, you know, Riddler's not in a good place after this issue.
No.
It's interesting stuff. I feel like there was just like this rush of excitement of seeing all these villains interact, and like just how like someone like the comedian being inserted, or even that maybe Marionette are like excited. Like, look at all these super villains. There's so many of them. Like compared to our world, like this is like a playground. can we
that's
thrive
because
here?
Comedian took them all out. You know, like,
Probably, yeah.
Comedian never gave them a chance to get going, and that's why I think Mime and Marionette stand out so much, because they are really the first supervillains that we've had from the Watchmen universe. Because in Watchmen, the ones that we see they're kind of they're old and decrepit, right? I haven't read
Washed
Watchmen.
up, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that these guys are still kind of operating, even though she broke him out, and I forget how she factored in. Oh, didn't Ozymandias get her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rorschach sent out for them.
Yeah.
That's right.
So obviously there's a point there. They were in prison. They had been captured in the Watchmen universe before then.
Yeah.
So.
But because you have to assume that's because Comedian's not operating anymore.
Yeah.
Or somebody like him, because we get from the vibe that to talk about the origin real quick. Her dad's he makes marionettes, and there's one of Night Owl, the original Night Owl, and one of the cops called him a snitch and whatnot. So you get the feeling that in between Night Owl and when Watchmen takes place, that something changed in the public dynamic on their world.
Yeah, because this would be set before Watchmen, right? Because the Watchmen universe is set in '92 when they came over. So I mean, this would be set well before Watchmen happened, the main story.
Right. So the fact that they're talking about Night Owl like that, and the lack of superheroes is kind of the point of Watchmen itself. Set in '86, right?
Yeah, and you get this super dark story of her father committing suicide because you get these cops are really racist and don't like immigrants and they're preying on them. Yep. You get the first sign of it's earlier on when they refer to mimes it's a funny way to spell maze, their name.
Yeah.
And it's a hint there, but then later on, of course, they flat out grab her, they threaten her dad, and she wants to try and help him, but he commits suicide. And this is what leads to them sort of fight. Because at first he kind of sticks up for her with the bullies, but then he ends up coming in when they're fighting off the cops, and they manage to kill both the cops. And that's kind of we get a montage of okay, here's them growing up to kind of bring us up to present day.
You think we're ever going to get to see how they got their powers? Because she has that invisible string, right? Because that's what she's using to lop heads off. And then he has the, all the invisible...
Is hers invisible? Tools. I just thought it was really thin, sharp wire.
I'm not sure
I thought it was
Yeah, I'm not sure he even has powers. I'm wondering if it's just guns that are invisible. It's literally just tech. Or the guns themselves are magic or whatever, but
so
he's
that's what
not.
I mean. Do you think we'll get where they got those from, or do you think John's just going to leave that as something for us to fill in on our own? Because this would have been kind of the time to do it, right? They don't have to give the full origin, but I'm just kind of curious. Someone that wants to know all these things.
I wonder if that specifically will be relevant later on, and that's when we'll get that detail specifically with the invisible guns.
But I do like their dynamic. You get from the thing that they're more than just boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife. They've been a family since day one.
Yeah, they take care of each other.
Yeah, and I do like that because they can be these terrible people that murder and do stuff, but they still do care about one another, and you kind of always want to see that in Joker and Harley, but Joker's been written as such a madman most of the time that it's hard to accept that. So I do like that here, that they are looking for their kid. They're not just on a crime spree.
It's a very different relationship.
It is a bit more what what the public thinks that Joker and Harley are. When people say that, that's the relationship in DC Comics that they like. The idiots, right?
It's super abusive and one-sided, but yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think this is the relationship that those people think that it is.
Which is probably the point, actually. That was probably the concept, is let's take that Joker-Harley relationship and what people think of it and actually do that version, because Watchmen, if nothing else, has always been a commentary on superheroes and supervillains, and so why not? So you get these characters who do actually relate, because near the end, when he jumps in to draw the fire of the comedian to protect her, she gets pissed at him, no, you don't dare put yourself in harm's way. You don't dare do that.
Well, that's it. Also, you get the vibe that she kind of looks up to the comedian, right? Because when she's talking about him when she's a kid, and the dad's like, oh, don't pay any attention to that. Right? Or am I just remembering that wrong? Let me go find that page.
No, there was something
she says
like that,
this little girl. Yeah, and so like, what if they were actually heroes at one point, you know, and they did something that crossed the line, and then it turned them into villains.
Oh, I think that's
So
what
that could be something,
I think that's the cop moment,
you know.
Matt. I think that's the moment where because
Yeah.
they go full on killing there. I think that's where they have that dark path set out for them, because it becomes revenge. It becomes this dark. We'll rely on each other and not trust
Yeah,
anyone else kind of thing.
but remember, well, yeah, and that's fine. But I can see, like, what if they did try to make a difference because of the cops? Like, they can't trust the cops, so they go on, and they're almost these vigilante heroes that are the inverse of the Watchmen universe, right? Because Watchmen's always been shades of gray. So if she grew up thinking of a comedian as this big grand hero, and he does all the dirty work, I just think that would be interesting.
No, you may
If we get that kind of,
you may be right. I want to mention there at one point actually. There's a transition between her as a kid to her as an adult, where she's making a face, and it's the exact same face she's making as an adult, and it's this perfect transition between the two.
Yeah, it's really early on, isn't it? It's the page where it's got the marionette doll.
yeah,
and it keeps going between her as a kid and the marionette doll, and then the final one is just her as an adult, but in the in the makeup as marionette.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Because I remember that page, but there's one I think later on where it's more of like a sneer on her face, and she's making the exact same facial
maybe
expression.
Maybe again later as well. Then
yeah, it's the exact same facial expression. And I remember just really appreciating it because I felt like it was it's in a page where the cops are in and they're just taking the leprechaun, and it's the bottom of that page where kid marionette and then adult marionette are making the exact same expression, and it's really well done because she looks really young in the other one and she looks older.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really well done transition.
I was gonna say I found the page that Matt was talking about with the comedian.
Oh, go on.
It's actually it's actually Mime that idolizes him. She said that you keep drawing it. You draw him in school. I think it is. And I wonder if part of that is not respect, but more worship.
Fear.
He's the one who just goes and kills, right?
Yeah,
he's
maybe.
The one who gets stuff done.
Right. So,
yeah.
But no. Yeah, the art also. There's that pose with we see the marionette, we see her, and then we see the doll, and they're in the same exact pose when you're on the page. It almost works like a dissolve in editing, where it becomes that. Such a cool. But yeah, the art again, it's always fantastic. It's Gary Frank.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So,
I mean, I feel like because we've praised it so early on in the series that at this point it's like, okay, if there's specific moments, we'll bring them up, but otherwise, no, it's just fantastic because it's been fantastic since we started.
I think something that I will say I really liked in the layouts towards the end is it's just after the hanging. There's a lot like 3 pages or 4 pages of the 9-panel grid, and then it cuts to a 16-panel. The pace quickens before that final page with the comedian. Yeah, and I thought that was a really effective usage of the panels there.
Yeah, everything's kind of speeding up. Yeah,
it just gets quicker just before the end.
It's accelerating. No, that's cool.
So I said I had issues with the Joker, but flipping through this again, I just realized that when he shocks the comedian, he's making the shocking sound. On that last page. And the face that he's making, the first time I read it, it didn't click. It just
it's one of them over, is what he's saying. He's in love with the issue now. He's all forgiven.
Yeah. But just that, and he's got his hands up, and it's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning because we end here. Joker's still got Batman tied to it. We haven't even mentioned that. He's got, and actually, I love that meta joke as well. When someone says, "Okay, Joker, who you got dressed up as Batman?" He's like, "What do you mean?" It's like,
it's too fit. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you done this? He's like, "Okay, a few, to be fair, but it's actually Batman."
Which Arkham Guard is it this time? Yeah. Well, and I love that it's Two-Face too. That's saying this. Like he's had enough of Joker's stuff. He just wants to do double gimmicks. He doesn't have time to find out who this new Batman is.
I've had enough of your shit, clown.
Yeah. Let me go back to making gigantic pennies.
So we end the issue. They've had this steamy sex scene, and comedian catches up to him. He's going to kill one of them because he only needs one of them. He wants to find Ozymandias, and Joker's, as Matt pointed out, shocks him from behind while making the noise, and he's like. And then that's when they are standing there saying, "Hey, I bet the comedian could tell us where Dr. Manhattan is because they want to find Manhattan." And Joker's like, oh, who's Manhattan? And that's quite an interesting idea, is that what's Joker going to find out about this world? And is he going to like the sound of this? Does he want to meet Manhattan? Obviously, there's a joke about him needing a dentist, but, like, it's amusing. And yeah, he's like, yeah, it hurts when I smile, which is, again, it's a very on-the-nose Joker thing to say.
And he takes the pin.
The pin, yeah. No, it's I was really into this show. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I feel like the ones that are really focused tend not to be my, which is weird because I feel like with TV shows, the ones that are really focused are my favorite. I feel like with this series, because I'm so into everything that's going on, I'm almost like, no, I want some of the JSA stuff. I want some of
everything.
Yeah. But this was really well done. I liked how it flipped between them. I thought the flashback was pretty, like, enthralling, and then the Joker stuff was a lot of fun, especially the idea of Joker meeting someone who was just as crazy as him, and he's like, you know, it's that, like, maybe there's been people who are close to as crazy as him, but this is like a new level. This is like, especially when he accidentally shoots his own guard. He's like, oh well, I can't let this happen, and he just shoots his own guy in the head. He's like, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Joker, love that Joker. So no, I didn't get a chance to read through the back matter, but I don't know if you guys wanted to mention it.
Yeah, Connor, did you?
Yeah, I had to skim through them.
Yeah.
It was basically, if I recall, just it's one of the files from about Typhoon. What was it's not Project Superman, is it? The actual.
No, but it's akin to Project Superman. So they gave him powers to have him infiltrate the super community, and they've used him numerous times, and they were going to send him to Kahndaq to see what's going on with Black Adam. And because he got killed here, and because it's so top secret, the government's denying him any benefits to his kids. Because
no. If I recall, they're still paying the kids, but they won't give him the funeral, and they won't absolve him and come out and say that he was a hero and he was working for them. His reputation is still left.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I got mixed up, was his partner's like, well, no, he deserves a full military funeral for his service because he was in the Navy or the Marines and elected to go through this. Almost kind of like a Deathstroke kind of thing. Like, you go through this product to become a better soldier. And because it changes him so much, they turn him into super.
I think what's interesting to me is this is a file from the Department of Metahuman Affairs. Yeah. This does seem to confirm, the theory that he was created, because that was one of the arguments. Is he was outed as, oh no, he was created. He's working for the government, and he was denying it. We got it in this issue at the big meetup where he was denying that very thing, and this seems to confirm it.
I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, everyone's like having like false like documentation to try and say they were, and that's the whole conspiracy.
Yeah.
It could be. Yeah.
So is this the real documentation, or is this the doctored stuff? That's, I guess, what I'd say.
I mean, it's hard to say because this is labeled as confidential. It's just an interdepartmental file. It's not going public.
Oh, that's fair.
No, and it's from the partner writes on it, so you have to assume this is real. Also, what is from Supergirl? That was Director Bones. What was that division?
DEO.
DEO, okay. So it's not. So Department of Metahuman Affairs is pretty new.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be the DNA. Okay. I'm just trying to keep them all straight because DC's starting to go wacky with them all.
Yeah, got a lot of acronyms to keep track of. I suppose we'll rate Doomsday Clock issue 6 out of 10. Connor, what are you giving it?
8.5. Not the best issue, but expertly told.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an 8. So while that seems like I didn't like, 8's so high, and it seems like I didn't like it, it's still well crafted.
Yeah, I was gonna say for the amount of like negativity at the first half of this discussion, that 8 was not what I was expecting. Yeah, 8.5. I'll agree with 8.5. Really solid. Really good stuff. But not definitely a couple of other issues that are my favourites over this one so far. But yeah, we're halfway through. Point that out. Like
I know.
Halfway through Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, we'll finish it in another year.